for all three. Can you tend to them?
I could. I wanted.
Hey there, Marvelous viewers, welcome back. We've got more A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms for you today. We're talking about why was Egg disguised when he first met Dunk. Let's get into it. Important people disguising themselves as ordinary folks is something that's actually quite popular, both in myths and in real-world history. The Norse God Odin had a habit of assuming different disguises to travel in the 9 realms and gather information that aided his never-ending quest for knowledge. The Mughal ruler Akbar would often disguise himself as a commoner to keep himself appraised of the ongoings within his kingdom. When we first meet Egg in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, he's also in a disguise, albeit his reasoning for being disguised is entirely different. In this video, we'll explore that very reason and take a look at whether Egg was trying to solve a problem or if a higher power was at play behind the scenes. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Tournament. I can stay in as your squire. Come on!
The official reason for Egg's disguise, a solution to a problem. When we first saw Egg as a bald kid who took being called an innkeeper stable boy in stride, we wondered whether he was actually just a regular old commoner. That wouldn't be an uncommon thing for the Song of Ice and Fire to do, because the first scene of Game of Thrones is completely driven by 2 common-born Night's Watch members, showing a highborn lad exactly what life beyond the wall looks like. House of the Dragon was a bit more regal in that sense, because it literally opened with Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen riding her dragon. But A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms brings things back to the roots of the franchise with Dunk and Egg. As Episode 1 progresses, however, we get to learn that not only is Dunk not a knight, Egg's not a stable boy. He's actually Prince Aegon Targaryen, the son of Prince Maekar Targaryen and grandson of King Daeron II. Dunk disguising himself as a knight makes complete sense because he's trying to make a name for himself as best he can. But Egg being disguised doesn't. Why would a prince want to prance about as a stable boy? Well, this is the point where we give you a spoiler warning, because what we're about to tell you might ruin your viewing experience. Egg's bald head wasn't a call made by him, it was a call made by his elder brother, the drunk guy we all saw at that inn, Prince Daeron the Drunken. The reason behind Daeron shaving Egg's head is quite simple actually, though it does highlight his self-serving nature. See, Egg was supposed to be Daeron's squire, which is why he knows exactly how to wash clothes, groom horses, and catch and cook fish. In Westeros, it's not uncommon for boys of Egg's age to do such things, because there's an Osric Stark who became Lord Commander of the Night Watch at age 10. The reason Daeron and Egg were headed towards Ashford in the first place was to take part in the tourney and outshine the progeny of the heir to the throne, Prince Baelor Breakspear. But Daeron, as you might have guessed, loves drowning himself in wine rather than his enemy's blood. He drinks like the fish Egg catches for Dunk at the end of the episode, and he's a terrible warrior because of it. So when he realized that he was going to be part of the Targaryen procession headed towards Ashford, he took advantage of it. Daeron shaved Egg's head to keep his identity hidden, for the boy had a petulant nature and a tongue looser than those red heads we see in Episode 1. His hope was that the kid would go unnoticed while he drank himself silly, but obviously that didn't work out. Daeron might not have been looking forward to participating in the tourney at Ashford, but Egg clearly was, given that the first question he asked Dunk is whether he's a knight. After he figures that out, he uses his knowledge of knighthood and his training in the duties of a squire to volunteer for Dunk, but his countenance betrays his intentions. Egg is just a kid after all. He still doesn't know that saying things like, "You look like you need a squire," more than most people will likely get him beaten bloody. But when this kid makes up his mind to do something, he does it, by hook or by crook, which is how he worms his way into Dunk's service by the end of the episode. So that's the official reason for Egg's baldness in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. He's wearing a disguise because of his brother's habits and the fact that Daeron doesn't want to ride in the lists. But if you look at things from another angle, it's quite possible that something bigger than practicality motivated Daeron to do what he did. And there's some evidence for this in the Dunk and Egg novellas. The reason we think he was in disguise: prophecy and meeting Dunk. Surprisingly enough, despite not being a member of House Targaryen, Dunk shows up in the dragon dreams of 2 descendants of King Aegon IV. The first, of course, is Daeron, who literally says he dreamed of Dunk in Episode 1 and tells him to stay away. The reason behind Daeron's aversion is something we've discussed in another video, where we explain who he is and why he's important, so you should check that out. The gist of it is this: Daeron dreamed that Dunk would survive a dead dragon, and considering that dragons are analogous to Targaryens in prophetic dreams, he freaked out when he saw Dunk in the same inn where he was staying. He immediately stumbles back to his room because clearly he doesn't want to die yet. And if we're being honest, this also kind of explains why he shaved Egg's head. I mean, sure, Daeron loved flaking on engagements to get turned, but he also loves his family. Most of his brothers are of an age where they can defend themselves, but Egg isn't. If that dragon would have turned out to be Egg, then Daeron would have been responsible for his death because he foresaw it and did nothing to prevent it. And there are many people in Westerosi history who have tried subverting prophecy by subtly altering the details. His shaving Egg's head can be interpreted as one attempt to do the same, but clearly fate has other plans for the kid, because he ends up agreeing to serve Dunk either way. Moreover, in the third Dunk and Egg novella, we get to hear about two separate dragon dreams, both of which refer to Dunk and Egg respectively, which makes us think that their meeting had more to do with prophecy than Daron wanting to solve a problem. The first dragon dream, which is about Dunk, predicts his rise from a hedge knight to a member of the King's Guard, because that particular dreamer saw Dunk wearing all white armor in his dream. It's true that anyone can get white armor made for themselves, but it's also true that in Westeros, the King's Guard has taken unofficial ownership of the all-white motif. The second dream this same dreamer had was about a dragon's egg hatching underneath the walls of a castle called White Walls, and the dreamer assumed that this was a hint that real dragons were about to return to the world. Little did he know that this dream was a metaphor for Egg, coming into his own as a Targaryen prince, which is exactly what happens in the Mystery Knight, the third Dunk and Egg novella. So when you consider the fact that the two dragon dreamers are having dreams about Dunk and Egg a few years apart from one another, it begs the question, why are these two characters showing up in the same places at the same times, within the minds of these dreamers? Well, our answer is that Dunk and Egg were meant to meet each other, which is why most prophetic characters in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms keep seeing them together. This makes even more sense considering the way Dunk ends up influencing Egg's life and time as a prince and a king, and how Egg reciprocates by making Dunk the Lord Commander of his King's Guard. Deep friendships like theirs aren't uncommon in A Song of Ice and Fire, because Jaehaerys the Conciliator's greatest friend and advisor was the common-born Septon Barth, whom Jaehaerys made his hand of the king, and Stannis Baratheon's greatest advisor is the smuggler Davos, whom he raises to the title of a knight, then a lord, then hand of the king as well. All these characters were destined to be in each other's lives in some way, shape, or form, so in our opinion, Dunk and Egg's meeting and Egg's disguise when he first met Dunk were guided as much by fate as the hand of man. Egg being a bald kid makes a lot more sense when you consider the nightmarish dragon dreams Daron had recently, and so does him ending up with Dunk, especially when Dunk is responsible for the survival of Egg's family. That's a topic for another video though, so for now, we'll leave you with this. Egg's disguise is a solution to a problem, but it also feels motivated by prophecy, which, if you ask us, is a problem all by itself. Having said that, that's all we've got for you guys today on this particular topic, so let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys real soon with yet another video. Until then, stay safe, and if you see a persistent bald kid at your nearest inn, pay attention to him, because you never know who he might end up being related to.